You can call me Technical. What is up, LEGO gang? Nicole here, back at it again for another video. As you can see here, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new LEGO Technic Ultimate Concept Car Series, the McLaren P1. Before we get started, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you around. Without further ado, let's get into this review. The McLaren P1 Ultimate Concept Car Series has 3,893 pieces, releasing on August 1st, 2024 for $450 US. Unboxing the set was an experience in and of itself. It emulated a level of luxury that you would expect when building a model of this caliber. I especially appreciated the level of detail with each component inside the box tying into one another. This was by far the nicest LEGO unboxing I have ever done. At the bottom of the box, you can find the two instruction booklets that go to this set. When you lay the booklets down flat on the table, they create the entire P1, which I thought was very clever. LEGO worked closely with McLaren to create the LEGO Technic P1 model, and so the beginning of the first booklet gives some insight as to what the design process looked like for the actual P1 car, as well as the challenges that the LEGO team faced in creating the P1 Technic model. This was one of the most interesting and thoughtful write-ups I have ever read in the beginning of an instruction booklet. I'm a little bit biased because I am a car nerd, but I highly recommend that you do flip through this section before building. Now let's take a look at this build. This 1/8 scale model measures 23 inches, so almost 2 feet and 59 centimeters long. And it features the iconic black and papaya exterior. McLaren is a household name in automotive racing. They created arguably one of the most successful F1 cars in history with the MP44. They also hold the third most Constructors' Championships in F1, following Ferrari and Williams. McLaren has built their reputation on design, innovation, and speed. The P1 brought F1 mythology to the road, and even a decade after its release in 2013, the P1's design is still considered groundbreaking and inspires many car models today. Thus, the innovation and the DNA of the P1 makes it the perfect car for LEGO to create out of Technic. Every element in both the real P1 and the LEGO version serves a specific purpose, and it is a marvel of design and engineering. This build is broken up into 3 boxes, and we're going to take a look at each section and its features. So Technic is about creating an immersive and challenging build experience, and so this is why box 1 was my favorite of the 3. For me, there's no more satisfying feeling than finishing up a Technic element and making a movable part in the whole of a build. Box 1 starts off with the exhaust and rear suspension. So you clearly build the central exhaust as well as the gold foiled lined engine bay, which is actually a custom feature on the actual car. Then we work on the 7-speed gearbox as well as V8 engine. The gearbox was something that challenged the LEGO designers quite a bit. They didn't have the correct elements to make a 7-speed gearbox without putting too much stress on the Technic elements, so instead of opting for a 6-speed or 8-speed that already exists, they created some new building techniques, shifter and drum elements, as well as 2 new gear wheels. Building the gearbox was not only extremely challenging, but super satisfying. You also build the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, which allows you to shift between the 7 gears just by pushing down on either side of them, and you can see this movement from underneath the car. And the electric engine had to be pushed up quite a bit, so you can only see this from the bottom of the build as well. The gear stick in the center of the cabin allows you to switch between hybrid, neutral, and E mode. We also add some additional interior features such as the steering wheel, the printed dashboard. There's also a printed infotainment system in the center of the cockpit with a printed 1423, which is a digital collectible from McLaren, as well as the P1 printed headrests on the seats. I also should add that this set has absolutely no stickers. In box 2, we work a little closely with the door mechanisms and sides. They added a new spring-loaded mechanism for the doors with a shock absorber. In this section, we also complete the front suspension and steering, and the designers were able to replicate the electro-hydraulic power steering, which turns out pretty cool. We add the bonnet to the top of the cabin as well as the front trunk. In these cars, the engine is not in the front, it's in the back, so it is a frunk, if you will. I don't know, is that what we call it? A front trunk is a frunk? I'll call it a frunk. Last but not least, we add the McLaren logo to the front of the hood, and we also add the widely criticized front headlights. I will share more of my thoughts about them later in this video. Box 3, we finally complete the model, and I think this will be the most exciting part for everyone who is building. We add the butterfly doors with the hollow design that include the shock absorbers that I mentioned earlier that keep doors posed in the open position until you decide that you don't want them that way anymore. One complaint that I envision people having are all of the visible blue Technic pins when you open the doors. Frankly, for me, it doesn't bother me because as long as the outside looks good and the inside looks decent, blue pins can stay. We also add in the rear clam and the retractable spoiler, and the spoiler can be operated by spinning a little wheel at the back of the build. In the actual car, it is retracted by pressing a steering wheel button inside the cabin, so I think it's pretty clever that the designers recreated that element by also using a wheel to operate the retractable spoiler. One of the final steps is we add in the brake calipers as well as the brand new element made specifically for this model, the new alloy wheels. And I have to say these wheels on the McLaren P1 are my favorite in all of LEGO inventory. And with the wheels on, we can finally test the suspension, which in my opinion is the best in LEGO Technic currently to date. And the final detail is we add a little toolbox to the front as well as we get the printed nameplate for this set. Another feature is that you can lift off the entire rear side to reveal the V8 engine with the pistons, the foiled lined engine, as well as the central exhaust. The cover is held down by these two orange Technic pins that I think some people will find annoying, but I don't think that they are totally noticeable once you look at the build as a whole, so it's up to preference. This build did take me about 9 hours to complete, and that was with a major mistake in the middle. It probably would have been closer to 8, but again, I'm pretty familiar with Technic, so I do work rather quickly with the Technic pins and elements. Every time I fly in an airplane, I am just blown away with what human engineering is capable of, and I got a similar feeling while building this. I can't believe that the designers are able to create such a masterpiece using beams, pins, and gears. Like, it blows me away so much, and this build especially was just, it made my mouth drop. Between the air takes and the bonnet, as well as capturing McLaren's drop shapes, it just really blew me away. And I think that the model overall looks beautiful. And by far one of my favorite features is that each car has its very own unique serial number. So just like your car has a VIN number, this has a unique serial number that you can identify your car with. This is a tile that no one else in the world will have. Now let's talk about the most criticized and critiqued part of this build, which is the front. There have been a lot of complaints as to the front not looking exactly like the P1, and I have to say when I first saw the teaser for the P1 and when I received the set initially, just at looking at the pictures, I agreed with the sentiment. I didn't think that it looked anything like the P1, and I was one of the non-believers. Based on the way that the LEGO model was photographed and then looking at comparison photos of actual P1 cars, you know that the most iconic feature about the P1 are the headlamps that are shaped in the McLaren swoosh. This is one of those sets that you actually have to build in order to see just how close LEGO was able to get this model to the actual P1 car. With LEGO models looking more and more realistic every day and some looking closer to the actual things that they're modeled after, it's hard to remember that these things are designed out of plastic and that there are going to be some discrepancies between a LEGO model and an actual car. One of the things that I didn't realize as a consumer that I realized after doing designer interviews is that LEGO likes to maintain some of their DNA in their models, which means that they don't want it to look too much or too close like the actual thing that it's modeled after. Right here you can see a stud that's visible. Some people have complained, why isn't this covered up? Well, it is LEGO DNA. This is one of those things that no matter how close a designer is able to get it to the actual model, there will always be complaints. Even if the headlights were fixed, someone would complain about something else. I think most of the complaints are largely due to the high price tag on this vehicle. This is $450, and like most of the Ultimate Concept Car series, that price point is very expensive and it is only getting more expensive. But with Technic, you're not just paying for a model of a car, you're paying for the experience that is going to be challenging and rewarding in the end. You're paying for innovative engineering in LEGO form, and like McLaren stands for creating designs and innovation in their field, this is also an innovative design in LEGO's field. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I'd like it to be closer to the actual P1 model, but I can see why it's not. Additionally, LEGO designers do need to follow a set of legal building techniques, so I would be curious to see anyone else come up with something that could be a little bit closer that might not necessarily be a legal technique within the LEGO group. In terms of this being very expensive, I can totally understand. I've been waiting for the Ferrari Daytona to go on sale for quite some time, and so I'm just waiting for a good deal there. So if you want to wait for a good deal for this one, I totally understand because I would too. But overall, I do recommend this car. I had to build it to really give you a fair assessment as to what I actually thought about it. But yes, after building this car, I think it's absolutely worth it. This wraps up my review of the LEGO Technic McLaren. Please leave me a comment below letting me know what your thoughts are and if you plan on picking up this set, and I will see you guys for the next one. Bye!